Hey guys, welcome back. This is Library of Orthonk, LOTR TCG YouTube channel. Back continuing our series on the 2004 World Championship decks. Now this is movie block, of course, my favorite format, and I do have a gauntlet of these decks assembled. So today we're actually going to look at one of my favorites, which is what I call Gandalf Gondor is the deck, but it's Gondor Bomb. So we're going to look at that today. So first off, let's take a look at the Free People's side, starting with our starting fellowship. So our Ringbearer is Isildur, the bearer of heirlooms. And of course, bearing the beautiful One Ring ATAR. And then our one companion is Gandalf, the leader of men. I love this guy. I think he's underused. It's just basically Gandalf that costs 2. And our other character is the Ranger of Ithilien. And his effect is, while this companion is in your starting fellowship, his twilight cost is -1. So even though he says 3, he's only a 2. So there is our starting fellowship. And so I'm sure you can guess what we're doing with this, being that we need to have Gandalf starting and being that we have this scrub over here. This is a Saved from the Fire deck. So for those of you not familiar with Saved from the Fire, I think most of you are, but just to review that since it's such a critical card, spot Gandalf and place a companion except the Ringbearer in the dead pile to take 3 cards of that companion's culture into hand from your draw deck. So because you're taking into hand from your draw deck, that does count against the rule of 4, which will be relevant in this deck. So keep an eye on that. But really, as you can infer from that starting setup, is we're basically looking to play this, spot Gandalf, and then place this companion in the dead pile to get 3 Gondor cards into hand from our draw deck. So that's really what this deck is about. And this is one of those just absolute staple foils. So, of course, we are playing a full play set of Save from the Fire. And I love just to see the fires burning in the foil there. So that is the key setup of the deck. Now then, moving on to our companions to kind of show you specifically what we're doing with that. The first 3 that we have that are going to be really critical our Denethor, the Lord of Minas Tirith. So he has an awesome effect, which is at a sanctuary, exert him to take a Gondor card into hand from draw deck. So you can see how this just starts compounding with your being able to search for cards. So what you're really looking to do ideally is turn 1, burn the Ranger of Ithilien for Denethor. And then the key cards you're looking for from there are going to be Elendil the Tall, just a fantastic statistical companion, and can give you move +1 and liberate sites. And then Aragorn Elisar Telecontar. He basically is, again, just the most powerful Aragorn. And when he comes down, he can heal. So I'll give you an explanation of how we work that. So basically what you're going to want to have at Site 3 at the Sanctuary is you're going to want to have Denethor down. And so then basically, even assuming you got nothing in your hand, what you're going to do there is you're going to heal for the Sanctuary, of course, remove all your wounds, and then you're going to exert Denethor once to get Aragorn Elisar, which you're going to play. And then his effect is when you play Aragorn, heal another companion. So then you're going to heal Denethor. So then he's going to have no exertions on him. Then you're going to exert him again for Elendil. Then you're going to exert him again for Narsil, Blade of the Faithful. So that's going to be key because you're going to put that on Elendil. It's going to make him super powerful. The turn you play it, it's going to give you +1 move. So then you'll be able to move directly from 3 into 6. And basically with your beastly companions. And this is if you drew nothing. And of course, you're going to draw other stuff. So anything else you draw, you're going to bomb down right here at site 3 too and just flood the Twilight Pool. Another key card, of course, you're looking for is Anduril, Flame of the West for Aragorn to make him a beast. Because if you just look at the stats on these two guys, it's just fantastic. And then the final Gondor companion we're going to play is Faramir, son of Denethor, to round us out. So that's kind of what we're looking for as far as to get ourselves set up. We also have Radagast for additional double move or triple moving if necessary. And we also have Sam for burden removal. So again, these guys are kind of the utility guys you see in every single deck. And then Faramir to round out the Gondor men package. So, and let me see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yep, we're at exactly 9 companions. So that's basically what you're looking to do, is just have an absurd bomb at turn 3 on the Sanctuary. And that's why we call it the Gondor bomb. You throw that all down at site 3. So once you throw all that down, your opponent is going to have an absurd handful of minions, and tons of Twilight, but we'll show you how we're going to deal with that. So looking at our utility pieces then, so the only ally we have in this deck, and you'll see this has a nice Gandalf event package, so we are playing 1 Barliman for our ally. And then for our artifacts and possessions, again, to pump up Gandalf, we're going to be looking to have Narya, again, for extra vitality, and Gandalf's staff for extra vitality. You really want to protect your Gandalf, and by getting that down, again, you're seeing just like the absurd stats that you're going to have on these cards, like a 6 vitality Gandalf. So that is our Gandalf artifacts. For our Gondor artifacts, and these are relevant because, as you may recall, Narsil gives you +1 for every Gondor artifact you can spot. So we do have 2 saplings of the white trees, again, just for protection, from our high vitality Gondor men, Aragorn and Elendil. Basically, you're going to keep yourselves out of Enkea reach just with having super high vitality and having some saplings. And then a Scroll of Isildur just for additional protection on Isildur to give him higher resistance and to get more bonuses on Narsil. Then we have the Coat of Mail. The Coat of Mail is just to protect, again, your Ringbearer so that he can't be overwhelmed unless his strength is tripled. So this is to put on Isildur. So that kind of is your permanent packages of artifacts, possessions, all of those things. And then this has a very heavy event package too. So like I said, the first thing that's going to happen when you chunk out and give your opponent, 20, 30 Twilight, they're going to be able to play their entire hand of minions. And so what you're going to do with that, first off, is you're going to play Out of High Airs in the very first regroup phase. So this says, if the Fellowship moves during the regroup phase, exert your wizard to discard each minion. So this is an awesome effect because you will have played out all your companions, flooded the Twilight Pool. They will have played out all their minions. It'll be one rough turn that you have to fight all those minions. Don't have to kill them or anything. So there's going to be a huge battlefield left of minions. And then you just say, okay, first phase, I'm moving again. And they'll be like, what the heck? How are you moving again? But it's response. If the Fellowship moves, exert your wizard to discard each minion. So it just gets rid of all of them. So that is an incredible essential piece. So we do have 3 copies of that in there just because you really need to see that. And basically need to get rid of the minions so that you can go from 3 to 6. Now, again, that'll work from 6 to 9, too. If you're trying to triple 6 to 9, getting rid of the minions whenever you're tripling is just a huge, absurd combo. I'm a little surprised we don't see, kind of this combo utilized more, which is giving yourselves additional moves and discarding all the minions, because it's just a fantastic combo. And especially in a deck like this where you basically draw out all your opponent's minions by flooding the table, your opponent will typically, and that's the right decision, play all the minions that they possibly can. So that's the key event there. And then again, because we are flooding the Twilight Pool, not only are we going to get rid of all the minions, we're going to get rid of all the conditions. Now, granted, there'll still have to be 4 Twilight tokens left, but that's still highly likely that we drop a Deep in Thought. And remember, Deep in Thought is a one-sided removal. It's not like Sleep Caradress or Grown Suddenly Tall. It does just discard all shadow conditions. So that is just absurd. Then do have a couple random pumps here. Spot Gandalf to make a Gondor companion. +1 for each Gondor companion you can spot, limit 4. So that's just like a +4 pump for Gondor men. Got a couple of those. And then we do have one additional, again, can be an additional Nkea protection piece or just a removal for a Nazgul, which is exert Gandalf X times to wound a minion X times, and if it's a Nazgul, wound it again. I'm sure there's some other things that you can protect against too with that, but when you have a super high vitality Gandalf and you have this terrible and evil that you can play in the maneuver phase, it just makes you feel a little safer. And I should say too, Barliman can get any of this stuff back. This is where Barliman really shines. When you have this kind of a Gandalf event package, you can get back whatever you want. So super good there. And then the last card in the Free People's side of the deck is the Might of Numenor. This is nice to drop, basically after you had that turn where you got brutalized by the minions. Next maneuver phase, spot a companion, reveal a card at random from opponent's hand, and heal X companions, where X is the Twilight cost of the card revealed. So hopefully, again, it's a little random where you could end up getting something cheap, but hopefully you get something decent that that you can heal several people off of that just for a 1 cost. So nice thing there to keep the vitality on your Gandalfs and Isildurs and Aragorns and all those guys. Elendil, excuse me. All right. So that is the Gandalf bomb side of the deck. Now, what this is combined with is Uruk Trackers. Now, I would say there's probably 3 decks that I'd be willing to combine this with. One which is Moria Swarm. The idea being is you want to combine this with an incredibly fast shadow deck. I should have mentioned too that that deck we just reviewed was only 30 cards. So it is the bare minimum to ensure that you draw your key cards, specifically saved from the fire. So you're going down to the bare minimum 30 cards. So you're looking for a shadow that cycles incredibly well as well. So Moria is a good option. The deck that you'll see this paired with, Uruk Trackers, of course, is a good option. And then the other option I found that works decently well is Dunland. Again, all of these decks have cheap 0-cost conditions that cycle. You've got like Goblin Armory and Goblins. You've got Hides for Dunland, which actually lets you draw an additional card. So anything that lets you cycle like that. And then for Goblins, of course, They Are Coming is huge to cycle through the deck. This deck's cycler of choice, of course, is Abandoning Reason for Madness. And we are playing the full 4 copies of that, which is pretty high. You don't usually see that in any deck, but this is literally a 30-card tracker deck, and 4 of the cards are Abandoning Reason for Madness, which lets you discard 3 cards to draw 3 more. So that really helps you cycle incredibly well also. So you're looking to get that down as much as possible. So just going through the deck then, overall the shadow side is, I'd say, mediocre power, but it's really good for cycling. So we do have Ugluk, the Servant of Sauron. Servant of Saruman. And he is actually a very powerful card and very tough to deal with, especially when you get multiple trackers down. You can get him strength +3, damage +1, fierce, where he's a 12 power, fierce, damage +1. So we do play a full play set of those. This was obviously a very popular, or I should say the most popular deck in the Two Towers era. Now, granted, there's many more options available in the movie era, but it's still certainly still a decent shadow side. And then Mahur is the guy who goes with that. Remove 2 to prevent trackers from taking wounds. A tracker, I should say. And then the standard trackers that you see is the 4 chasers and the 4 runners. Those are just the typical guys that become fierce and then get the power +2 bonus in the fierce skirmish. So they're kind of the same card, except statistically this one is 1 higher power, 1 higher deploy. But there's your really core tracker package there. Then last few minions here, we do have a couple Uruk Captains. That guy can just get whoever you need, Ugluk, Mahur, whoever you need out of the discard pile. So we got a couple of those. And then we do have one copy of the Uruk Hunter. That's the guy that can deal with Unbound Hobbits. Now, again, this deck is not super powerful against a fellowship trying to go big. It's good against a smaller fellowship. So we do play 3 copies of Greed, because that's just essential. That's your Enkea effect. So if your opponent tries to do what this deck's doing and just flood the Twilight Pool, you can just Greed up and just Enkea snipe their most key companions. So we do run a full 3 Greed just to keep our opponent in check. And then also, in order to keep our minions, we've got 3 Spies of Saruman. This is just to skip the archery phase. So this one, again, I'm not sure rationale necessarily for the full 3 copies of this, but really just making sure that archery can't just wipe out our minions, so that we do actually survive to be able to stay on the table. So, and I'm trying to look. So Greed is in the maneuver phase, so you'd still be able to Greed regardless of the archery phase. And Abandoning Madness is in the shadow. So yeah, I'm assuming this is just a anti-archery measure, which doesn't seem amazing and seems a little excessive, but that's in the deck. And then this, of course, very understandable why you're playing the full play set of Abandoning Reason for Madness, simply because that's the whole point here, is that we cycle as much as possible, and that this definitely gets that point across. And then to finish it out, we do have a couple copies of Saruman's Power, always a staple just to keep the Free People's conditions in check. So that seems like a lot of what we're doing is just trying to keep the Free Peoples from doing anything really crazy, you know, discarding all their conditions, making sure that we're there with an Enkea if they try to go up to a big fellowship, and then just doing kind of standard beat down with all of our trackers. And then, of course, in the 30-card deck format, cycling ourselves as much as possible with the Abandoning Reason for Madness. So that's the Shadow deck. Like I said, those 2 go together particularly well, and work really nicely as a 30-card really race format. So hopefully you all enjoyed that. Like I said, that's probably the most unique of the movie block decks, being that it does that weird 30-card race strategy and has some a little bit of the gimmick of drawing out your opponent's minions and then discarding them all after you've dropped your bomb at site 3. So very interesting deck. You can play it very similar, though less gimmicky, and have a very similar looking deck that is just solid. And you don't really change much out of the deck. You just change a little bit how you play and can, you know, boost up the deck to a higher number than 30. And then the minion side, then you wouldn't have to be so suicide on 30 cards cycling. You could really match it up with any minion side. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. We're going to be looking into finishing out more of our movie block decks. A lot of them are elves and men. We're not going to go over that over and over again, but I'll try to highlight the different unique decks that we haven't covered yet, and cover those in the coming weeks. So hopefully you guys enjoy the all foil movie block deck techs, because there's more to come. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more videos. Little addendum here, I did realize we did not go through the sites on our deck. So we're going to go through the sites very quickly here. Site 1 is the Steps of Edoras, obviously giving your Gondor men Defender +1 there. Site 2 is the King's Tent. Spot a minion to make the move limit -1. Site 3 is the Tower of Ecthelion. This is actually very interesting too, because you can also get the move limit increased off of this. So you've got multiple ways to increase the move limit here, where technically if your opponent is stuck on an empty board, you can move more than +1 between, you know, your Isildur effect, your Elendil effect, your Radagast effect, and your Tower of Ecthelion effect. You can basically move as much as you want. Anduin Banks, City Gates. Again, these are pretty meh sites, as you can see, but our shadow site is Uruk-hai, and so there's no specific shadow sites for them. And this is critical when we move heal each Gondor companion. So that way, if you move through 6, you still get your healing. So this is very key in this deck. Osgiliath Crossing, exert 2 minions and spot 6 companions to draw 2 cards. We're just playing the Crossroads for the 8/8 and trying not to give too much of a bonus to anyone other than Southron men. And Site 9, the famous Dagorlad, add 3 threats. So pretty standard 9/9, add 3 threats. So nothing too surprising out of that Sitepath. I think the key ones to look at for our strategy, for sure, that Site 6, healing the men. That's probably our most critical site. And then potentially Site 3, although I haven't tested this enough to know how greedy you can get if you want to increase the move limit by adding 3 threats, because it's quite possible you have to eat those threats onto your people at that point, but maybe worth it. So that is the deck. There's the Sitepath. Thanks for staying tuned for the addendum, and as I said, stay tuned for more movie block deck tech videos.